What makes a good public speaker? What traits do good public speakers possess that make them good at what they do? I've learned that engaging with your audience is most important. You also want to keep good eye contact with your audience throughout your presentation. You want to be able to pronunciate your words the way they are meant to be pronounced. You want the audience to hear what you're saying. You want to use effective gestures. You don't want to sit there and be tapping your foot the whole time. You don't want to be shaking, taking away your audience's attention from what you're really trying to say. After learning these traits, I decided to evaluate a public speaker. I evaluated Apollo Robbins, The Art of Misdirection. He is a TED speaker. He talked about how attention shapes reality, and if you could control attention, what would you do with it? To capture his audience, he used his mastery in pickpocketing, misdirection, and humor. He had the audience laughing the whole time while they were hearing and seeing what he was trying to say. He brought an audience member up so the audience can help see how misdirection works when you control someone's attention. With the way he was using his humor, showing his misdirection, he was able to keep the audience engaged throughout. He never lost his audience. During the 9-minute presentation, I would say the audience wasn't laughing maybe 30 seconds. Even myself, while watching it, was laughing the entire time. But I was still getting his message, which was the most important thing. As a TED speaker, you live by TED commandments. They're their own 10 commandments that they live by. The first one I noticed that Apollo Robbins did well was he showed the real you. He used what he did best. He didn't let other presentations, other speakers, take him away from what he does best. The second one was he connected with emotion. As I said, he used his humor to keep the audience engaged throughout his presentation. He didn't go away from what he does best. Thirdly, you don't want to read. When you're watching the news anchors are simply reading a teleprompter. They have what they need to say written in front of them. As a public speaker, that will not keep your audience engaged with what you're trying to say. That takes away from what you're trying to say. And the last TED commandment that I really noticed Apollo Robbins did well was he rehearsed. The way he worked with his audience, the way he worked with the audience member up on stage with him, you knew he had to rehearse it. Yes, he's a master pickpocket. Okay. But can you do it in front of people on cue when you need to? I'm sure he could if he needed to, but he also needs to rehearse how he's going to speak to his audience, how he's going to bring his audience in. Before watching Apollo Robbins, I watched a TED speaker, Sir Ken Robinson. In his speech, he spoke about how school is ruining creativity for kids today. I noticed that both public speakers did a great job at speaking to their audience. They both captured their audience, which again is the most important when public speaking. They both used humor, although different kinds of humor. I would say the Apollo Robbins humor was a little bit on a higher level than Sir Ken Robinson's. But everything else, they did great. They kept their audience engaged, kept good eye contact, they pronounced their words correctly, they used appropriate gestures that didn't make their audience basically disappear and not listen to what they're saying. They were both also very dynamic in their speeches. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, I would rate Apollo Robbins at a 5. I didn't really see anything in his speech that he didn't do well, or that made the audience not pay attention, made the audience not be engaged with what he is saying. During this, I learned that there are many different kinds of public speakers. There are many different ways to deliver a speech when you're speaking to an audience. You don't have to do it one way. You don't sit there and speak in monotone, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say. You actually engage with your audience more than I ever really thought. I never really noticed that engaging with the audience was the most important part of public speaking. As a public speaker, you want to do what you do best. You want to bring your skills, your talents into your public speaking. This is the biggest thing that I would like to pass on to my classmates. If you're good at something, do that. Tie that in with your public speaking. Don't let others tell you how to do your speech. Don't let others influence your speech. It's been fun being able to evaluate different public speakers and learn about public speaking and what goes into it. I'm Cole Riddell. Thank you.